the Fantasy Football Fanalist Podcast, presented by Fantasy Data. Here's your hosts, Billy Muzio and Bradley Stalder.
And welcome into another episode of the Fantasy Football Fanalists. This is a special episode for me, Bradley, because it is my home league draft tonight. And I will be live streaming it here in about 7 minutes. We're going to actually go live. I'm going to add this to the stream here. And we've been playing in this league. I've been playing in this particular league for, I think this is year 9 now. So we've had a lot of a great growth in this league. It started out as a 12-team league, and then now is a 10-team league. It is a 1-quarterback league, PPR league. And every year, you know, I don't live down in Texas, but some of, the guys I went to college with, household brothers, will meet down in Texas, and they will discuss and have drinks. And unfortunately, because I live in Michigan, I can't go down with them, but I have had a little bit of success. And this was the league that really got me jump started into fantasy football. Since I joined in 2013, my first year, I was terrible. I was absolutely atrocious. As most of us are during our first year. I was 3-10 and the 10th player out of 12 in 2013. It was not good for Bradley. And then in 2014, I turned it around. That was the year that I had like Odell Beckham as a rookie, and he just absolutely went bonkers, and a few other players. So in 2014, I won that. I was only 7-6 though in that league, or that season. 2015, 4-10. I was 4th out of 10. 8-5 that year. Things just did not go my way in 2015. That was the Tim Hightower. If you remember Tim Hightower, he was a backup for running back for the Saints, and he had a touchdown called back. I'm just so salty about this. There's league history, right? He was called back on a touchdown, and it was because one of the tight ends didn't declare himself as eligible downfield. So I actually lost in the semifinals that year because of a Tim Hightower touchdown called back. Hashtag fantasy life. Am I right or am I right? So in 2016, I came back and was 10-3 that year. I won the league. In 2017, I won the league as well at 8-5. In 2018, I finished 6th, and that was just not a good year. I don't know what was going on in 2018. In 2019, I came in 2nd place. I lost in the finals. I was 8-5 that year. And then last year I was 11-2, but I finished 3rd. And it was mostly because of injuries at the end. It was a 1-week playoff, and I just didn't have, the players at the end. This was the lead. So I had Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara and Terry McLaurin, AJ Brown. I had T. Higgins. I had George Kittle. So I was able to really make a run last year at 11-2, but ultimately, they just didn't show up in the semifinal week. And then, of course, in the finals week, Kamara, as we all know, had 6 rushing scores, and that did not win me the league. So at least I got my buy-in back. But nevertheless, here the draft is going to start in about 4 minutes, and I'm going to take a moment to actually share out the link with my league so that they can join us as well. Hopefully in the chats and the comments. And of course, if you're watching, you can say, Bradley, what the heck are you doing? Feel free to chime in at any point. Absolutely want to do. There we go. We're going to copy and paste that, put it in. I apologize in advance if there was an echo, and paste. And to share in the chat, the text chat. We are live. Okay, so we are live. Thank you. We're going to get started here in, as I said, about 3 minutes. Okay, and there we go. Okay, remove that one. Very good. And there we go. So we're going to get started here in 3 minutes. I'm at the 9 spot. I was pretty lucky the last few years. I've been like first and third and second last year. I was able to take Kamara second last year, and that panned out pretty well. This league has gone up and down throughout with the keepers. So there used to be a keeper concept in this league where you got to keep players from the previous year at the place that you drafted them. So it was really advantageous to take advantage of players that you thought were going to really jump up. So you got to keep one keeper. And last year, I was able to keep Dalvin Cook in the second round because I got him, midway in the second round the previous year because of the Dalvin Cook injury concerns. There were concerns back 2 years ago that Dalvin Cook was like injury prone. Last year, he only missed one game due to injuries. The other game he missed was due to personal reasons. So I'm not concerned about Dalvin Cook, but realistically, I have no, realistically, I got it. I have no chance of getting Dalvin Cook in this draft. So I don't know what to say other than, we're going to have to look probably in the Devonte Adams, Ezekiel Elliott, Aaron Jones range. And I was doing a few mock drafts here. Here's the thing with I do a lot of different things. There's best ball ADPs, there's FFPC, there's really tight drafters, but there's also like home leagues like this where there's a lot of unknown. Like you don't know where a player is going to end up being drafted, and someone might fall, or someone might get picked up really quickly, that you were targeting. So I did a few mock drafts based on the ESPN ADPs, and you may notice some discrepancies with the ADPs based on compared to rankings. So really, it's important for you to do that research before you get into, drafting, because ADPs per site are different, and you want to be able to leverage them, but also not overreach. So I have to assume that, Travis Kelce all the way to Tyreek Hill is in play here for me. I'm really not banking on the Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara coming to me, even though that would be really nice. So I'm going to do one more share out before we get started here. The draft is going to get underway in just a moment. Once again, this is a 1 quarterback, 1 tight end, no tight end premium, PPR, but there are upside bonuses. So like if Tyreek Hill catches a 50-yard touchdown pass, you get 5 points for the yards, 6 points for the touchdown, 1 point for the catch. That's 12 points right there, plus another 2 points for a 50-yard touchdown. So, you really want to paste. Feel free to comment throughout on the YouTube. The league is asking for the link, and so it just shared it out. We've got some watchers. Very good. Awesome. And of course, you can chime in anytime. If you think someone made a mistake here, we can definitely talk about whatever's going on. So here we have paused the draft so that everything is set up. Let me get all squared away here. I've got some rankings on different tabs here. Definitely, acknowledging that I'm probably not going to get, these top tier running backs. I'd be very surprised given that there are no keepers this year. So I'd spoken that in previous years in this league, there were keepers, and I had kept Dalvin Cook in the second round. Last year, I kept Todd Gurley a few years ago in the second round before his explosion year. That was one of the years I won the championship. So I want to welcome everyone who's come in. The draft has been paused. This is actually unsurprising. Throughout the years, we've had to pause it a couple times, so I appreciate everyone sticking around. But so I've had some success with the keepers. Oh, right, we have some technical difficulties, but the first pick and the consensus pick was the number 1 overall Christian McCaffrey, running back, goes first off the board. So remember, this is a 10-team league. And with 10-team leagues, like, you kind of have to shoot your shot a little bit. You have to go for upside once you start getting into like tier breaks, especially because in this league, not only is it 10-team, which means the onesie positions are a little more like, they matter a little bit more, but also that they're a bonus league. So there's bonuses for over 300 passing yards. Ooh, Derrick Henry goes 3rd overall. That's interesting. He, let's show drafted here. His ADP on ESPN is as 4th. So Derrick Henry going 3rd is a little bit of a surprise there, but right in the same realm as Alvin Kamara. Okay. So let's see here. All right. Devonte Adams goes 4th overall. That is a bit of a surprise, but Devonte had 18 touchdowns last year. He's a touchdown machine. So we definitely could see how the upside there with Devonte Adams scoring all those touchdowns. That, though, as a Green Bay Packers fan, I loved it. But the problem with Devonte Adams, as I mentioned before, Randall Cobb is back. Robert Tonyan is ascending. Devonte Adams also will struggle with injuries, okay? And Aaron Rodgers put up an unsustainable touchdown rate. So I'm not optimistic about, Devonte getting to 18 touchdowns again, maybe more like 12 to 14, but that was interesting. All right. Alvin Kamara goes off the board. The ADP kind of resets itself a bit. I'm on the clock in 3 picks. So if we rank it out on ESPN in 3 picks, that's still Jonathan Taylor. And in 3 picks, that would be Tyreek Hill based on ADP. Okay. So Ezekiel Elliott goes off the board. Saquon Barkley and Travis Kelce and Jonathan Taylor are the next 3 up. And Travis Kelce goes off the board at 7. Kelce's been one of the safest plays here, over the past however many years. Now, I was doing some mock drafts, and I was thinking about what is the strategy am I going to do here at the turn? I'm not exactly at the turn. I'm at 9, but there's one player, Jake, who is at the turn, and it's definitely a difficult. Wow. So Jake, can't get Aaron Jones there, bud. Sorry. So here, oh man, Saquon Barkley is staring me down. I am worried about the Giants and the Giants offense. I'm also looking at Jonathan Taylor here. I really do need a running back, and I don't know if he's going to come back to me or not. But Saquon is a generational talent. I'm taking my time here because this is a minute and a half, but I want to think through this process for a moment. In a 10-team league, the running backs will dry up very quickly. You need elite running backs. And I think that, Saquon has said that he's feeling better. He's definitely getting planted. I am worried about this offensive line, though. I think I'm going to take my shot at an ascending player who's not Saquon Barkley, who has pass-catching capabilities, and that's going to be Antonio Gibson. I'm going to take Antonio Gibson a little ahead of ADP, but I wanted to make sure I got him. And yes, if Saquon comes back to me, I'll consider that. But I am concerned. I want good offenses. And I think the Washington football team is going to be a much better, a much better team here. All right. So Jake is on the clock. That's right. He is Fingers, team fantastic Fingers. And he goes Jonathan Taylor here at 10. I had thought about Jonathan Taylor and Nick Chubb. All right. It comes back around to me. Now, all right. I got a player who I thought was high upside with Antonio Gibson. Can score the touchdowns, can catch balls out of the backfield. He's one of my top 12 running backs, so I made sure I got him. But I think he has Christian McCaffrey ceiling, and that's what I wanted to make sure I got. Now I'm going to target floor at the running back position. I'm worried about Joe Mixon. I said I'm worried about Saquon Barkley. I'm going to actually skip over Saquon Barkley again. And then there's a ton of receivers. But in a full PPR, I'm surprised that Austin Eckler is back to me. So I'm going to draft Austin Eckler in the second round here. So my two running backs are Antonio Gibson and Austin Eckler. And I think, I'm going to take a look at my projected points for all of those, for those players, and just give an idea of where they rank projected points wise. Okay, so Austin Eckler is my running back 5 behind Kamara, Aaron Jones, Christian McCaffrey, and Derrick Henry. Antonio Gibson is my running back 13. But that, I think that's pretty conservative. That's me baking in only an 8% target share for Antonio Gibson. I think that can be higher. Oh, Jake says thanks. Or good plan, Eckler. Thanks. I appreciate it there, Jake. I really like, Nick Chubb and Jonathan Taylor there at the turn. You need to, especially at these long turns in the first round, you need to, make sure that you get running backs, because you don't know what's going to come back to you at the end of the end of the second round into the third round. Let me zoom in here a little bit. We just saw Najee Harris go off the board, and Najee Harris is probably one of the safest workloads in the NFL. He was a first-round draft pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's going to jump into that James Conner role, and he's going to get all of it. So I'm very, very excited, okay? So let's zoom in, and let's see here. Brad, I need this kind of analysis for my picks too, LOL. Preferably before he makes them so he avoids mistakes. Fair enough. So Andrew, appreciate your commentary here, and thanks for watching. We'll have to do some recap here. Well, I'll do a recap at the end as well. I'll go through each of the rosters and give some feedback here. We see here at the 4th pick in the second round, Joe Mixon goes off the board. And Joe Mixon for the COVID Musketeers Masketeers, I should say, is paired with Travis Kelce. Now, Mixon missed a lot of last year due to a vague foot injury. And he was involved a lot more in the pass game than I thought or many other analysts thought. There was a lot of hope that he would be, but he really was an established piece in that passing offense. So I was really, I'm surprised that Joe Mixon went before the likes of Tyreek Hill. But here in this league, wow, the ranked 4th player has made it to pick 16 at least, and that's Saquon Barkley. I am surprised that Saquon has fallen this far. I know that there are concerns about this offense, but someone's got to take him, and Stanky Fingers does there. He lets the slide fall, and Saquon goes in the middle of the second round in this 10-team league. Finger looking good takes Tyreek Hill, who, I was contemplating there, but I really did want running backs. In all of the iterations, so I had done a lot of mock drafting here, and I just couldn't pull the trigger on the back end of the first round wide receivers. In a couple mock drafts, I went Devonte Adams and Tyreek Hill, and it just didn't feel right. Because I just didn't like how I left my draft feeling after taking 2 of the best wide receivers, given how a 10-team league is structured. And as you can tell, there's 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, We do have one IDP player, a defensive player in this. And then defense, special teams, a kicker, and then there are, I believe, 7 bench spots, and I think we have 2 IR spots, maybe 3 based on COVID. I don't remember, but nevertheless, you got about 18 seconds left for the Hustlers, and the Hustlers, remember, their first round pick was Devonte Adams, and DK Metcalf is the Heritage Row Hustlers pick here in the second round. So we've got Devonte Adams and DK Metcalf here for the Hustlers. 2 wide receivers, very strong. DK is my, I'm very high on DK Metcalf. I'm much higher this year than last year. Last year I was a little more skeptical on whether he would develop his route tree, but DK Metcalf for me is my wide receiver 7 in projected points. So for Heritage Row Hustlers to get him at this spot in the draft, I think is pretty good value. Okay, so we still have some pretty good players out here. I still have 11 picks until my next selection here. And just a reminder, I went Gibson and Eckler as my high upside and then high floor running backs, obviously, to fill out my 2 running back spots here. Trey Flowers for Algernon. Down to the last 20 seconds here. We'll see who he selects. And it's Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley, my number 1 wide receiver in projected points. In fact, I have him at 26 more projected fantasy points in PPR than Tyreek Hill. So I think the departure of Julio Jones, I think that the questions of whether Kyle Pitts will immediately hit are certainly there for Calvin Ridley. To his upside, without Julio, Calvin Ridley had a 31% target share, had 11 targets per game, averaged over 100 receiving yards. This guy was an absolute machine. And in the league that rewards you for 100-yard games, Calvin Ridley is an absolute smash here in the second round. Okay, here we got Ramsey's Brigade. We see a bunch of wide receivers: Diggs, Hopkins, Brown, Jefferson. They're all really good-looking guys. I think with a lot of upside. All 4 of them have Q's next to their name, meaning, of course, that they're questionable. But Ryan goes with DeAndre Hopkins here at pick number 9. Now we're at the 2-3 turn, and with Christian McCaffrey off the board, I wonder where Andrew is going to go here. The lost cause team. So, will he go the Clyde Edwards-Helaire route? Will he go Stephon Diggs or A.J. Brown? Will he go Terry McLaurin? Some people are very high on Mike Evans. That is certainly a possibility. But, that Tampa Bay offense is very potent, and we'll see. So he's waiting for you to tell him to move. I knew this was going to happen, but that's why I'm talking through all of them, because I want Andrew to make an informed decision here. So, yeah, Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, has a chance to ascend. Clyde Edwards-Helaire definitely flashing as one of the best offenses in the NFL. Certainly an interesting play there. I think you can't go wrong with any of these players, but it depends on what he wants to do. It depends on where he wants to go. Christian McCaffrey is always an edge. So, there's safety plays, but he goes Stephon Diggs. And Stephon Diggs is my wide receiver 3 in projected PPR points for those following along at home. He only 7 behind Tyreek Hill. So I'm a believer in Diggs. I think his target share stays where it is. In fact, I have him second in projected targets, only behind Calvin Ridley. And I have Diggs as my 5th wide receiver in projected target share. Okay. What's the analysis of picks so far? So Ryan's asking to help set himself up for the next pick. We're looking here at a lot of wide receivers. This is where, you're looking through a lot of the running backs, and Like, we're talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, probably, the last of that tier. Maybe if you really like Miles Sanders, David Montgomery is there. Like, as we start looking at these running backs, they're just like, they're okay, right? Running back twos, I guess. It's not super exciting, but it's obvious that wide receiver needs to be a pick here. And then, wow, Chris Carson off the board for Ramsey Brigade fills out the lineup. Dalvin Cook, Chris Carson, and DeAndre Hopkins. Remember, Carson was re-signed and then given a 2-year deal for starter money. So the Seattle Seahawks definitely plan to use him. Chris Carson, though, let me look here, is my projected running back 15 behind Najee Harris. So, it's fine. Chris Carson, he's going to be a safe play. And I think with all the injuries that have plagued Ryan's teams over the past few years, I think a safe play with Chris Carson, although Carson tends to miss 1 or 2 games here or there every year, but nevertheless. Darn it, Ryan. Yeah, Chris Carson would have been, I think it's also, you have to keep in mind, like, these are, say snake drafts. And so it's going to take a while before you get the player. So if you like a player in the next little bit, like, go get your guy. Don't leave this draft feeling like, oh man, I really wish I would have left my draft with another player. Like, go get your guy. Like last year, the guys for me were Terry McLaurin and AJ Brown. I needed to not leave my draft without those players. And I really, really wanted those wide receivers. I didn't want to leave my draft without them. I felt they were difference makers. And, I knew I was getting Kamara and Dalvin Cook in rounds 1 and 2. And then I was lucky enough to get Kittle in round 3 last year. So for me to hammer home wide receiver at that right spot, and I knew which ones I wanted, that was a game changer for me. So Ryan fills out his starting running backs there, Dalvin Cook, Chris Carson, and then he also has DeAndre Hopkins there. Oh, man, I was hoping Darren Waller would come to me. I hope he would have fallen. It's okay. We've got contingency plans. No, we don't, because George Kittle just went off the board too. All right, so we have 3 picks until mine. I still need to give some love to Trey Flowers for Algernon, Derrick Henry, Miles Sanders, Calvin Ridley. I was not a huge fan of the Derrick Henry pick at that point, but it is what it is. It's your preference here. And then going to Heritage Row Hustlers with Darren Waller. Oh man, I think Heritage Row Hustlers is going 0 RB in this draft. Devonte Adams, DK Metcalf, Darren Waller. Don't be surprised if he comes around again and fills out with a solid wide receiver here in the flex position and just completely takes dart throws on running backs. We have our first quarterback, Patrick Mahomes off the board, baby. Finger looking good. Nice, Andrew. Nice. Patrick Mahomes in the 3rd round. And for those at home doing your ADP watch, right? Why is this not? Let me zoom for a second. Patrick Mahomes ADP for those at home is 19.4 in ESPN. He's a back-end 2nd rounder in this type of format. So to get him in the middle of the 3rd, I guess. And we know what upside Patrick Mahomes is in a bonus type of league. Mahomes will consistently throw for 300 plus yards. He's with one of the faster paced, pass-friendly offenses. He was going to be an interesting pick around the 3-4 turn. So there we go. Let's hide all of that. I have 2 picks here that are of interest. So Joe Exotic is up. AJ Brown goes off the board. I was hoping AJ Brown would be there for me. Unfortunately, he is not there. And Justin Jefferson goes off the board. Justin Jefferson is back. He was not wearing a red non-contact jersey. I have, just looking at my lineup, remember, I'm not looking at Terry McLaurin. I don't want to go Washington all in here. I really like Terry, but He's not the wide receiver I'm targeting here. I am a little lower, I think, than most on Terry McLaurin. Okay. And I'm looking at my projections, and I really do like how can I turn down? Oh man, this is so tough. I'm going to go with a player that I think is in one of the best offenses in the NFL. He's the number one target for his quarterback. His longest catch, though, was 28 yards last year. He's a close to the line of scrimmage type of guy. And with my wide receiver 1, I'm going to select Keenan Allen. And I know the crowd's going wild. Oh, Keenan Allen. Oh, yeah. This is a player who I have as my wide receiver 9, but with the amount of targets, I have him as my wide receiver 5 in targets. So he's a player that I believe in the Chargers offense. I believe that they're a good play. They have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. He's a trusty wide receiver. And we saw the Golden Tate slot receiver in Detroit flourish. We saw the Michael Thomas slot receiver flourish with Joe Lombardi in both of those. Terry McLaurin goes off the board, and we'll see if Mike Evans goes off the board here. Certainly falling way below where I thought he would go. Robert Woods goes off the board. I've been talking about Mike Evans. I'm just going to be honest. I have no interest in Mike Evans. If you've been listening to the podcast, he is my wide receiver 37 in projected points. I'm not in on Mike Evans. I'm not going to go him. I'm going to go with an ascending sophomore wide receiver in also a very good offense who put up tremendous points during the time that the starting quarterback played last year, and that is CeeDee Lamb. I don't have CeeDee Lamb projected, in my top 12, but I think the upside is there. And if I'm going to take a gamble on a player, I've already taken a safe play in Keenan Allen. So I'm going to take the gamble with CeeDee Lamb. There we go. So my lineup starts out Antonio Gibson, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb, and then next up, Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson goes off the board in the 4th round. And Allen Robinson is a player that I think he'll be a back-end wide receiver 1, but I think he has middle wide receiver 1 upside if Justin Fields is out there throwing the ball. If Andy Dalton is throwing the ball, no way, no how. It's not going to happen. But, I really do like Allen Robinson here. Allen Robinson, in fact, is my projected in PPR points, my projected wide receiver 11 in PPR points. He's like within the same range as like Terry McLaurin, Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen, like in that same range. So I think that's a good pick there. Joe Exotic's team, Aaron Jones, Najee Harris, Justin Jefferson, Allen Robinson. So he has some upside. He has some floor. This is a team that we'll be interested to see where we go here. Okay. Whew. All right. Wonderful. For those of you just joining us, welcome on in the Fantasy Football Fanalist Podcast. I'm Bradley Staller. You can follow me on Twitter at FFStaller. You can follow my co-host Billy at FFMusio. We have a gig with Fantasy Day. We got a podcast twice a week. And we love interaction. We love getting comments and feedback. We'll be doing 2 shows throughout the week, Tuesdays and Fridays, and then maybe we'll sprinkle in a couple special episodes like tonight, where this is my home league draft. This is my 1 quarterback, 1 tight end, no tight end premium, PPR, 10-team home league. And we just saw another Robinson, James Robinson, go off the board. And James Robinson is a player who he was an undrafted free agent last year, stepped into a full workload and made it happen. In fact, in 2020, James Robinson in PPR fantasy points per game, right, was the running back 6 behind Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, and Aaron Jones. That's pretty darn stinking good company. And now first-round running back Travis Etienne for the Jaguars is out for the year with a foot injury on IR. So there's really not a lot of competition. There's been talk of maybe Carlos Hyde and his, discussion, his history with Urban Meyer. I'm not buying into Carlos Hyde taking on a significant role in this back. He'll give James Robinson some blows, but James Robinson, let me pull up my James Robinson, even after the ETN injury, is my running back 20. So, we are getting into the part of the draft where, you start having to fill out your roster with players that you're hoping to have more upside than are projected for. So, at the 4th round pick, James Robinson, undrafted free agent, we already saw the Jaguars not commit to him. There's questions about that. So definitely an interesting pick there. Necessary, I think, in the 4th round, that you do need to fill out your roster. You do need some upside, and we've seen that with James Robinson. But this is a different coaching staff. It's a different quarterback. It's not Gardner Minshew, who was traded to Philadelphia. And so I think there's more risk with James Robinson, drafting him in the 4th round at pick 34. Okay, next is Deandre Swift. And speaking of risky running backs, there's been a lot of talk about Deandre Swift. Swift is my running back projected 8. So I think that there's a lot of upside for Deandre Swift. However, he has a groin injury. His coach is talking him down, says he doesn't know if he's going to be ready for week 1, and Dan Campbell in Detroit has talked up Jamal Williams as being this running back that is very interesting. That he's the 1A and Swift is the 1B. So I love Swift's upside. He was able to be the 18th best running back in the NFL for PPR total points last year, despite giving the majority of carries to Adrian Peterson, who was 35 years old. The Detroit Lions have a good offensive line. Penei Sewell, he's playing out of position, so we'll see if he can step up and develop. They just don't have anybody. So is it possible that DeAndre Swift gets 80, 90 targets? Absolutely. TJ Hawkinson is projected to be the number 1 pass catcher in this offense. So DeAndre Swift here in the 4th round in a 10-team league, that might be a little rich, but we'll see. We'll see how the rest of this plays out. Adam Thielen. Irv Smith, the tight end for Minnesota, is going to be out indefinitely until we don't know. Until his knee heals. A meniscus injury will do that. So who else is going to be in this offense? Justin Jefferson, who was drafted about a round earlier. Yeah, just about a round earlier. And Adam Thielen. They're going to be the 1-2, and then Dalvin Cook as well. Okay. So Adam Thielen is going to be very involved to start the season. David Montgomery here at running in the running back, the 7th pick in the 4th round. Taking a look at Heritage Row Hustlers, the team. That's his first running back. Okay. So, yeah, after going, I'm surprised that actually Heritage Row Hustlers went David Montgomery here. Thought he would go more so with maybe another wide receiver, but 0 RB doesn't work as well in a 10-team league. Josh Jacobs here for Trey Flowers for Algernon. Okay. A pretty good pick. I think there's more upside than is being let on for Josh Jacobs. And Amari Cooper goes off at the 4th pick in the 9th round. I am also very high on Amari Cooper. I was high on CeeDee Lamb. And in fact, projected points wise, I believe I have Cooper higher than Lamb. I do. I have Cooper at wide receiver 10, so I think that was a great value there. And CeeDee Lamb here I have at wide receiver 18. So I think that CeeDee Lamb can access where Amari Cooper already is, but I think that, CeeDee Lamb already had a 20% target share last year. Amari Cooper had a 21% target share. Like he had 1.5 or so percent more target share than the rookie CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb has a chance to ascend. That's pretty much the ceiling for Amari Cooper as a back end wide receiver 1, which is not bad here at the end of the 4th round. You're getting a good player. Now Ryan goes with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Okay. And there's obviously going to be looking for or actually, no, it's not Ryan who does that. That was lost cause. That was Andrew. Andrew goes with the Tampa Bay stack here. And that means he's telegraphing he's going to go with Tom Brady later on. So keep your eyes out, everybody. If you're going to go snipe Andrew there. Okay. Ryan is up here. Ryan has Hopkins and Cooper and Cook and Carson. These are all very solid players. I think, we're looking at a lot of wide receivers here, unless he decides to go upside quarterback. And instead he goes running back. So what do I know? Gus Edwards, in light of the J.K. Dobbins injury, I have updated my projections in light of that injury. And Gus Edwards, where is he? He jumped from like running back 37 to running back like 28. Gus just does not have any PPR upside. So he's going to score a few touchdowns. I have him projected for 1,200 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns, but only 12 receptions because he does not catch the ball. In fact, his career high, Gus Edwards' career high in receptions, I believe is 9. So, in a PPR league, I was not targeting Gus Edwards at this point, which is also why I was like, no to Gus Edwards, earlier. And I'm not looking to target running backs who don't catch the ball in a full PPR league, especially this early. And that's why I didn't want to go wide receiver. I want to go with running backs that catch the ball in the first 2 rounds. We see our second quarterback go off the board, and that's Josh Allen here, round 5, pick 4, right behind Cooper Kupp. Josh Allen is, my projected quarterback 4. Okay, I have 3 quarterbacks ahead, one of them being Patrick Mahomes, of course. There are 2 other quarterbacks I have ahead of Josh Allen, but we saw also Cooper Kupp go off the board, and he is my wide receiver, projected wide receiver. Actually, he's right behind Robert Woods, incidentally. Cooper Kupp I have projected as my wide receiver 16, and Woods as my wide receiver 15. There are still 2 wide receivers on the board who are in my projected top 14. So we'll see in the next 3 picks if one of those or 2 of those wide receivers goes off the board. We'll see. This is also an interesting time where the likes of Josh Allen can go off the board. Kenny Golladay just went off the board. I've been avoiding Giants. I mentioned how afraid I am of the Giants offense. Kenny Galladay's had hamstring issues. He missed most of last year with injuries as well. I know he was paid like $70 million, a lot of money to be the alpha dog for this New York Giants offense, but he's been injured. Sterling Shepard has had concussion issues in the past. Evan Ingram just went out with an injury. Darius Slayton has had injuries this preseason. So there's a lot to be worried. Saquon Barkley is coming off of a devastating ACL tear. Daniel Jones missed time last year. I am worried about this Giants offense. Next up, we've got good, and that's Andrew. finger looking good. He went Mahomes, Elliott, Hill, and Swift. He's got the Chiefs stack, and you got to give it to him there. That's a heck of a stack to have, and definitely a lot of upside. And it goes Deontay Johnson here. The target share for Johnson is unbelievable. And Big Ben Roethlisberger was talking up Deontay Johnson as he wants to make Deontay Johnson one of the top 10 wide receivers in the NFL. Will it happen? I don't know. I don't think so. Not with Claypool and not with Juju still there. So I don't know. I'm worried about, a little bit about the Steelers offense reaching a ceiling. I think that there's a lot of floor there. Juju is going to be a safe play. Najee Harris is going to be a safe play. Chase Claypool is maybe the one with the upside, but Deontay Johnson is going to be a good flex play, or actually in Andrew's case, a good wide receiver too. He's got PPR, a PPR floor, and with Tyreek Hill's ceiling, that's not a bad pairing. Okay, so next up is Masketeers. The COVID Masketeers has Mixon, James Robinson, A.J. Brown, and Travis Kelce. I'm not sure what way he wants to go here. Maybe he could go quarterback. Maybe he could go another wide receiver. So we'll see. He's not going to go tight end. There's not really any tight ends here that are of interest. In fact, the next tight end is Mark Andrews. Okay. So DJ Moore goes off the board. Kyler Murray goes off the board. Kyler Murray is my quarterback. Here 2. So Kyler is my quarterback 2. And he just went off the board. And the guy I was hoping would fall to me, fell to me. He fell all the way. His ADP is 49. And that's Tyler Lockett. Love me some Lockett. In fact, Lockett is my projected wide receiver. Let me close out the QBs here. Tyler Lockett is my projected wide receiver 8. So I think I'm getting a tremendous amount of upside with Tyler Lockett. This new offense for Seattle is going to go berserk, I think. And he's absolutely a steal here at the end of the 5th round. Okay. So I'm going to fill him in at my flex play. Okay, Tyler Lockett, draft. Boom. Okay. So let's see. Jake is up here. So, Brad, are you going to auction off a pick for your subscribers? You guys can subscribe to us on YouTube at Fantasy Data. You can go there. You can find us on Twitter at Fantasy Data NFL. You can follow me on Twitter at FF Stalder. My partner, Billy, at FF Museo. Billy does a lot of high stakes. So if you're very interested in wagering and winning a lot of money, the high stakes definitely are for you. If you've been winning a lot in the smaller contests, you can start to level up in bigger contests. But Fantasy Data also has a lot of awesome subscriptions. And if you use the code FFF20, you can get 20% off any Fantasy Data subscription. In fact, there are already deals happening right now. So this 20% stacks on top of that. So sorry to take some of your time there, Jake, but you've got, the turn. So I'll use it as a little promo. So go to fantasydata.com and use the code FFF20 for 20% off your Fantasy Data subscriptions. It definitely gives an edge, especially if you're trying to be serious about winning your league. So there you go. Okay. Kareem Hunt goes off the board here at the end of the 5th round. And he's definitely an interesting player. There's really not a ceiling for Kareem Hunt, unfortunately, unless Nick Chubb goes down. He's got a floor. He's got a PPR floor. But during the time when the Browns were very pass heavy and Nick Chubb was on the field, it was not Kareem Hunt's show. In fact, if we look here at Kareem Hunt's Is it not showing? No, it does. So over the last 5 weeks, Kareem Hunt had 33, 33, 21, 11, and 37 rushing yards. He had 24, 77, which is amazing, 7, 41, and 4 receiving yards. This was a player who, as we can tell, his ceiling is really capped. Maybe occasionally he can get something, but there's a player who has ceiling, and that's Chase Claypool for sure. Okay. So here, this is another place where I really want to take a stab at a player, and I'm going to look at, and this is a full PPR league. So I'm looking at two different, at one player really, and I think it's a pretty big teardrop here. I want to make sure that I fill out my roster with players that I think are going to boom. Okay. And to start the year, especially, okay. To start the year, especially, the Baltimore Ravens have really struggled to get their receivers on the field. And that's why I think this is the perfect time for me to take Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is a player I've always been high on. He is my projected tight end 4, 1 point behind George Kittle. So he's, I think, more safely in that top 3. He might be a top 4 than, I think it's a more like a top 4 than a top 3 and then drop a tier. I think Mark Andrews I have him projected for the highest target share among all tight ends. Even Travis Kelce, I don't have the target share as high. The problem is Mark Andrews is in a run-first offense, a low-volume pass offense. I'm not very interested in that. TJ Hawkinson immediately goes on afterwards, and he's my tight end 5. So I want to make sure that we're, taking what we're given. And in the light of Brashad Perriman being cut, TJ Hawkinson is my tight end 5, and I think he's a good pick here. Andrew says, does Brad have a fantasy podcast? Yes, I do. You can follow us at Fantasy Football Fanalists on all of the wherever you get your podcasts. Do we assume everything he says is a misdirection? I'm really not trying to misdirect, but this is a live draft where I know you guys are watching, so I need to, hedge a little bit. But there are a few players that I really do have my eye, and I hope that they come back around in the next 15 picks. This is the sweet spot that I'm really hoping more players come to me. But Lamar Jackson goes off the board. He is, a quarterback, as I mentioned, with all of the receivers out, looks like, and with J.K. Dobbins out, this is a team that's going to have to rely pretty heavily on Lamar Jackson manufacturing yards. And for having a running back 1 in your quarterback spot, that's pretty good, even if Lamar is not going to throw for 250 passing yards. So let's just take a look through a few of the teams as we're going back here. Fantastic Fingers has Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, Terry McLaurin, Robert Woods, Kareem Hunt, and then on the bench already, Chase Claypool. I have Antonio Gibson, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb, Mark Andrews, Tyler Lockett. Joe Exotic so far, Kyler Murray, Aaron Jones, Najee Harris, Justin Jefferson, Allen Robinson, TJ Hawkinson. Hawkinson also dealing with a shoulder sprain at this time. It shouldn't be serious, though. Lamar Jackson, Joe Mixon, James Robinson, A.J. Brown, DJ Moore, and Travis Kelce. That's a lot of upside, but also a lot of risk. I think this is a team that is either a contender, it's complete boom or bust. All right, we saw Andrew go Julio Jones there. Finger looking good. So finger looking good. Andrew has Patrick Mahomes, Ezekiel Elliott, DeAndre Swift, Tyreek Hill, Deontay Johnson, and Julio Jones. Andrew is calling for a misclick, so this might have to happen. We've had incidents like this in the past. This is not surprising. Let me start my camera over again here. And What is going on? Why is that not working now? I don't know. Okay, let me make sure my camera and my mic are working here. Okay, and that is working as well, so we're all good. Okay, the draft has been paused. Perfect time for technical difficulties on my end. Okay, so Julio Jones was put back on the board. Thanks for your patience with that one. Kyle Pitts, rookie tight end for Atlanta. Now, I am very high on Kyle Pitts. I did end up making some adjustments to my full PPR rankings, and Kyle Pitts now does slot behind TJ Hawkinson there. So there you go. Okay. So let's see. I've been getting some private messages from league mates as well. So if you want me to make some shout outs, you can definitely Venmo me. But let's see here. Ryan Marsh is the best player in our league. I've said those words. We will see if that comes to fruition here. Okay. So let's see. Don't know. Andrew. That's so funny. Okay. We now have Cortland Sutton come off the board here in the 6th round. He's recovering from an ACL tear. Last year, he only played like barely a game, and then into week 2, and then he tore his ACL coming off of another injury. I don't know if Cortland Sutton is the wide receiver you want in Denver, at least to start the season. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater is the quarterback. So we will see if Sutton can regain his alpha status. And I think that he could. Like, he's built like an alpha. He's caught passes like an alpha. I was just really concerned last year. I had Cortland Sutton very low, outside my top 24 wide receivers. So with Drew Lock, though, I was really concerned. Okay, Michael is claiming that he has gotten off the phone with Cortland Sutton and that Sutton guarantees a pop-off year. So I love to hear that. Very interesting that Cortland Sutton goes off the board here. I'm very interested to see what he can do coming off that ACL tear. Like, he finally started looking, because I was watching some of the preseason clips, he finally started looking like he could plant and move, which is what you want to see out of a player who's suffered an ACL tear. Stephania Bell really broke it down well. Here in the 6th round, a little rich, interesting. Myles Gaskin off the board in round 6. Heritage Row Hustlers. As I've mentioned before, this is a team that had to fill in some gaps. Went Josh Allen at quarterback, went David Montgomery, Myles Gaskin. We've seen ceiling from David Montgomery, but the floor is pretty low, especially if Damian Williams still has something left in the tank. And the Bears' offensive line is not good. So that's a tough pick. All right, we have our first defensive player off the board in the 6th round. It's Darius Leonard, linebacker for Indy. He just got his extension. He got the bag, he got the money, and now he is drafted in the 6th round. Fills out defensive player need. There, Darius Leonard, linebacker for the Colts, goes to Trey Flowers for Algernon. Now, quarterback Russell Wilson goes off here for Ryan Ramsey Brigade. Is this where Tom Brady goes off at this turn? Because Tom Brady was a top 6 quarterback last year, number 1 in air yards. And Andrew has both of his top receivers. So this may make sense at this spot, especially given the types of quarterbacks that have already gone off the board. So somewhere around this turn, it's very possible that could happen. Okay. But based on ESPN ranking, the top 3 ranked players left are Julio Jones, Brandon Ayuk, and Odell Beckham Jr. So maybe Andrew goes with, no, he's already got his wide receivers filled out. He's already got his running backs filled out. He's got his flex. This might be the place where he takes a stab at at quarterback, but instead he goes running back as a backup here. Chase Edmonds, who was a top 24 PPR running back last year in a part-time role behind Kenyon Drake, now only is competing with James Conner. Okay. So, of course, just a reminder, if you want to make some comments, you can send those to me privately, but I prefer for you to share them on the YouTube. You can comment on YouTube. If you're following us on Twitter, you can comment on the Twitter feed. If you're Facebook friends with me, you can comment on the stream. I have that on the Fantasy Data Facebook page or on our Twitch page, YouTube, all of it. All right, next. He did go Tom Brady there. Nice. And then Logan Thomas here at pick 2 in round 7. Logan Thomas was a player that I was very high on going into last offseason. I said, where else are the targets going to go? And he's athletic and he's a converted quarterback. He's a player that might function pretty well in this offense. And then it was better than I expected because dump off Alex Smith, comeback player of the year, Alex Smith, was looking for Thomas and was looking for McKissick everywhere, close to the line of scrimmage. So in a full PPR league, Logan Thomas, I still, with Ryan Fitzpatrick, think that Logan Thomas can extend his route tree and go play well at tight end here. Justin Herbert goes off in the 7th round, pick number 3, and he was my quarterback 1 overall. He was my quarterback 1 overall. Great on Trey Flowers for Algernon getting that pick here. He's got Henry, Sanders, Ridley, Kupp. He has 2 players who I have ranked as my number 1 in their particular position in Ridley and Herbert. So certainly a lot of upside and even median, floor to see success there. This is, a team that has filled out their number 1 defensive player as well. I am concerned about the ceiling for Josh Jacobs being in the flex. We'll see if Herdro Hustlers comes back and gets some upside here later on. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. So Jake, who is at the 10th pick right behind me, said, there goes Brady. And he also wanted Herbert as well. I agree. Herbert was a player that broke out last year, set a bunch of rookie quarterback records. I've been saying all year all offseason, he's been one of the players I've been very high on. And his rushing touchdown ceiling is there. He's built around the goal line to be a successful player. So he's definitely a player that I wish that I could have had as well. Okay. We just saw Mike Davis go off the board, and Mike Davis is the number 1 running back for the Atlanta Falcons at this time. And Mike Davis is my running back 17 in projected PPR points. I don't see any other players, in my top 20 at running back out there. So this may be the time where I start looking at, wide receiver. Maybe I look at quarterback here. So let's just, for kicks and giggles, I'm up in 3 picks, so I've got a little bit to look at. ADP wise, it's Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott, and then it goes 49, 58, 102. So there's an obvious tier break here with Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott. I do have CeeDee Lamb, and pick 69. That would be, a value at ADP, and it would be right at the rank. So maybe Dak Prescott is a player that I'm interested in, but also just looking at the flex plays, Julio Jones is projected for 226 fantasy points, but Julio Jones among my wide receivers is, at first I was a little worried about Julio Jones being able to pay off. And then, I did some more looking, and I'm still not convinced he's going to be like a boom player. So I have Julio Jones outside my top 25 of projected wide receivers. Not a player that I'm very high on. Just with the Tennessee pass offense not being a high volume one, and Derrick Henry still being there, and AJ Brown being there, shrug, right? Now I'm looking also at, I'm up in 2 picks, and I don't want to leave my draft without a couple players that I still see are available as I'm scrolling through. I'm very interested in a couple of players that still are on the board, and I think this is the right time to take the players that I'm eyeing. I'm not going to say, because I know that the next 2 could snipe me. COVID Masketeers and Joe Exotic could snipe me here, but there's about 2 minutes. We'll find out if one of these players or 2 of these players are still there. Okay. And even looking at my team, like, I haven't spent a ton of time looking at my team, but I have 3 players there that I'm very excited that I have in my top, like Keenan Allen, Tyler Lockett are going to be top 10 locks in PPR. And then CeeDee Lamb, I think, has that upside that I'm looking for. So here, what players can I also take a swing on? And T. Higgins was that player. T. Higgins was the player that I really wanted to take a swing on, and he went. So, oops. So there we go. Not happy about that. Thanks. Yeah, I'm a little worried about Dak Prescott, though. That injury is a problem. Julio Jones goes off, and this gives me an opportunity to take one of a few players. And in fact, I have a good problem to have. I have a couple players that I'm very interested in. They're all wide receivers. Okay. So I want to do some ranking here, just comping. That one's wide receiver 20. This one's wide receiver 17. Yeah, so I want to make sure I get my guy. And one of the guys I can't stop drafting this year is Jerry Jeudy. I mentioned earlier that I think Cortland Sutton isn't going to be the PPR wide receiver 1 in this team. He may lead the Denver Broncos in touchdowns. He may have the most air yards, but I think Jerry Jeudy has he's got separation, and he's got a quarterback that Teddy Bridgewater had an 84% completion percentage in preseason. He has a career completion percentage, that's also very high. He's very smart. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And I think that's the type of player that, or the type of quarterback that Jerry Jeudy very much needs. Like, if it was Drew Lock, I think Cortland Sutton would have been higher. But with Teddy Bridgewater winning out that quarterback battle, Jerry Jeudy is poised for a huge year. He's my wide receiver 17. And to get him in round 7, I thought that was a huge value. Huge value. So Michael says that I'm going to find out that I'm wrong. And, I've been wrong on some things. Last year, I was very low on Stephon Diggs, but I took a flyer late on Josh Allen, and I came, in 3rd place. So I was 11-2, best record in the league, but just couldn't pull it out. Alvin Kamara got me, did not win it for me, I tell you what. Michael said, if I beat you in fantasy football this year, I get to host your next year's podcast. I'll invite you on as a guest, Michael. I'll make a deal with you about that. If you win, I'll invite you on as a guest for sure. Definitely. I'll compromise. Okay, so I'm on the clock. I've got 70 seconds left. And right now, I'm just going to look around at running back. I see some running backs that I think I can wait on. I'm not huge on Damian Harris there. I think I still want to get a really good wide receiver here. And I'm looking at, I really want to take him here, but I am a little concerned about the offense right now and that questionable tag next to him, Brandon Ayuk. But you know what? In round 8, I think Brandon Ayuk might be a really good play. He was one of the best in reception perception, Matt Harmon's reception perception. I'm going to go Brandon Ayuk over Jamar Chase here. I have since dropped Ja'Marr Chase down from my wide receiver 13 in projected points all the way down to wide receiver 39. So my wide receiver 13 to wide receiver 39 in projected points. I am concerned about a slow start now for Ja'Marr Chase. Like, I thought that he was going to come out guns a-blazing with a 22% target share and just catch the touchdowns, get down the field. And, that's why I was really bummed out about not getting T. Higgins there. So, I might want to, trade up a little bit for T. Higgins here. But I don't know. To lose T. Higgins, that was killer. I tell you what, I'm kicking myself over T. Higgins just going 2 spots ahead. Nevertheless, I think Jerry Jeudy is going to be a good pick, and in fact, I have T. Higgins, like 3 spots ahead of Jerry Jeudy. So I feel like I'm not losing out too badly there. Okay, Aaron Rodgers went off the board on the turn. I failed to mention that. But Daryl Henderson now goes off the board here at running back. And Daryl Henderson is the projected running back 1 in what's projected to be a really good Rams offense. I think here in round 8, that's a pretty good value, especially in a PPR league. Daryl Henderson was one of the best pass blocking running backs on the Rams last year. Cam Akers was atrocious. Malcolm Brown was atrocious. Daryl Henderson will be able to stay on the field most likely. Sony Michel was pretty good at pass blocking as well. There is risk now with Sony Michel taking over later. So, that's probably bumped Daryl Henderson down here in this league. And especially since we're only starting 2 and it's a 10-team league, probably waiting on running back, seeing some tiers drop here. Okay. So let's see. Let's go through what are some teams missing right now as we're 3 picks into the 8th round. Fantastic Fingers is missing a tight end in the starting lineup and has already filled out 2 bench spots with Claypool and Cooks. I am missing my quarterback. And I have two bench spots. Joe Exotic has all of the spots filled and Daryl Henderson on the bench as his running back 3. Lamar Jackson leading the COVID Masketeers. There goes Devin White, Tampa Bay linebacker, off the board. So Lamar Jackson there. There's no bench yet for the COVID Masketeers, probably banking on some good bench players still being available. Finger Licking Good is not missing any significant players. We do have defensive players here, but you either get Darius Leonard or you have like a second tier linebacker or you have nothing. Let's be honest. So I'm not worried about defense and kickers either. So Finger Licking has 1 bench player at this point. Stanky Fingers also has 1 bench player. Heritage Row Hustlers has no bench players, no defensive players, is coming up though for the 8th pick. Trey Flowers for Algernon does not have a tight end yet. Ramsey's Brigade does not have a bench yet, has Gus Edwards in the flex. I really didn't like that Gus Edwards pick. I'm so sorry, Ryan, but I like him as a floor play, but not as a ceiling play. So he might move out of your flex and onto your bench as like a backup running back 2. I would feel better, if anything, if Gus Edwards was my running back 2 instead of my flex, but just throwing that out there. And then Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Stephon Diggs, Christian McCaffrey, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Andrew's going to be a team to be reckoned with here. Not having a tight end, though. Let's look and see. There are a couple teams without tight ends. Noah Fant is still on the board. Robert Tonyan, Dallas Goedert, Jonnu Smith, Mike Gesicki. They're all there. Out still. Okay. Cool. Notice also I don't have any players in my queue because I don't want to give anything away. Dallas Goedert off the board. I just did a tight ends show, and I was all out on Dallas Goedert, like absolute fade Dallas Goedert. He was my tight end 19. Why so late? Why so out on Dallas Goedert? I don't think Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback. I don't think that the wide receiver options are bad enough that the tight ends are going to be leaned on. And oh wait, Zach Ertz is still there. So I think that Dallas Goedert is a fade, and I was not a huge fan of that. Devonta Smith, he's a player that has struggled with injuries this offseason. He's undersized, but he was a first-round wide receiver pick by Philadelphia. He could either smash or he could be a zero. And I think at this point in the draft, like, you want to take players that you're going to smash on. And Devonta Smith has a high ceiling. I think he won the Heisman. Let's be real. But also he could bust. He's just not a big figured dude, and playing against seasoned cornerbacks, that could be a problem for his development. We will see. I was not huge on Devonta Smith, but if that's, if you got your Philly bias, you got to go with it. Now, Andrew selects Michael Gallup, and I think this is a good place for Gallup as well. He's a high upside. He's one of the few wide receivers that are like a wide receiver handcuff. Like if CeeDee Lamb goes down or Amari Cooper goes down, Michael Gallup immediately jumps into like this wide receiver 2 conversation, this top 24, top 20 sort of pick. So all positions, we'll go all positions. And it comes back around to Noah Fant. Yeah, he destroyed the multiple first-round corners. So there is some optimism about Devonta Smith. So we'll see how that can translate into the NFL when game speed hits. There really has been a lot of limited off-season work given his injuries. So I'll root for the best for him. Just not a player that I'm targeting in particular. I was actually trying to find excuses to not draft in rookie dynasty drafts, not draft Devonta Smith. Okay, yeah, just a reminder, as Timothy did, you can chime in on the YouTube page. You can comment. You can comment on the Fantasy Data Facebook page. You can comment on my Twitter at FFStalder on Twitter. You can comment on FF Fanalists on Twitter. You can go to our Twitch page for Fantasy Data, and you can comment there as well. Okay, awesome. And for those of you who are joining us and seeing what is going on here, this is a 10-team redraft league. This is my home league. This is a league that I've won 3 times since 2014. So I have not won since 2017 though. So I feel like I need to. So I need to regain composure here and make it happen. Noah Fant goes off the board. He's like my tight end 12, so that's fine about where he's going. Tyler Boyd goes off the board here. I think that Tyler Boyd is a buy at round 9. He's in a pass-heavy offense and will have a 20% target share. So I really like Tyler Boyd at this point in the draft. Joe Burrow seemed to be finding him a lot, and he's going to get his targets. He's very well within the range of outcomes that he gets 100 receptions this year and in a full point PPR league. That's nice. Timothy wants to follow up the Devonta Smith comment, and he also may notice that Jamar Chase is here out on the board as well. Timothy says there seems to be a bias with Smith and Chase among the fantasy community. People seem to excuse all of Chase's struggles. I think partly, I can't speak for everyone in the fantasy community. There are some real Devonta Smith truthers. I tell you what. And there are some real Jamar Chase truthers. Some view him as a transcendent prospect. But he didn't play in 2020. Some scouts said that he was the 3rd best receiver on the LSU team behind Justin Jefferson, behind Terrace Marshall. And he's struggled with drops in the preseason. So there are very differing opinions. I've taken Jamar Chase. I haven't really taken much of Devonta Smith. But, I was taking a lot of Justin Fields in rookie drafts, mostly because I play in Superflex leagues where you have to start 2 quarterbacks. and I needed like a higher upside back, second quarterback. So especially to pair with like a Ben Roethlisberger as my QB2. I know Ben's probably going to retire. So nevertheless, okay. Robbie Anderson goes off for Trey Flowers. Raquan Smith goes off for Heritage Row Hustlers as the next defensive player off the board. Gabriel Davis. Hey, Billy, if you're listening, Gabriel Davis just went in the 9th round of my redraft league. Stanky Fingers just took him. And that was over the likes of Jamar Chase, Juju Smith-Schuster, Laviska Shenault, Marquise Brown, Michael Thomas, DJ Chark, DJ Chark. Anyways, Deebo Samuel, Corey Davis. That was a very bold take to draft Gabriel Davis here. If you believe in his connection with Josh Allen, and Stanky Fingers does not have the Josh Allen stack, but is looking for more wide receivers. So there you go. I guess I'm sorry. I feel like I'm ragging on Michael here. If I apologize if I'm coming off that way, but nevertheless, I would have taken other players over Gabriel Davis. He probably would have been able to come back to you at let's look up Gabriel Davis. His ADP was 170th. He was 189th ranked player, and so sorry. Hopefully that wasn't a misclick, but if you got to get your guy, you got to get your guy. And I'm not going to bash someone if that's the guy. He said he's going to pop off. I'll take Michael's word at that. Okay. Michael Thomas goes off the board. And I think this is the right time for Michael Thomas. He's not a player. He's not like he used to be. Drew Brees is not there. Jameis Winston is there. But Michael Thomas has turned into a diva. Okay. Michael Thomas has turned into a diva. He didn't get the ankle surgery when he needed to. He didn't return phone calls from staff. He made cryptic, a wide receiver's gone diva when he starts posting cryptic stuff on social media, just like Antonio Brown a couple years ago, just like Odell Beckham Jr. a couple years ago. That's a red flag. So Michael Thomas, he still has upside, but he's going to be out for a while due to that ankle surgery. So being in a league that has an IR spot, just plug him into the IR spot and go pick up another free waiver there. That's fine. Juju Smith-Schuster goes off the board. Raheem Mostert goes off the board. And here is where, I'm starting to look at my team, and I don't want to feel pressure. I don't want to feel pressure to take TJ Watt. I've got Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Ayuk on the bench. I'm going to look at some players that I think have some running backs that I think have upside here. So I want to make sure that I get a running back that will only increase. And I think that's Trey Sermon. So I'm going to actually dig deep here. I want to make sure I don't think he's appropriately priced. I think Trey Sermon right there was I know that was a reach, and he's not projected that high. Yeah. So Ryan commented, can't wait for the post-draft interviews. Okay. What were you thinking there? Mostly those wings were spicier than I thought, but Blue Moon tasted fantastic. This is my warning to all fantasy football drafters. Don't drink and draft. Don't drink and draft, or you'll start making very poor decisions when these picks are very crucial. Now, I do want to come back to Trey Sermon. I wanted to make sure I got him, and I probably would have gone after Raheem Mostert as well there. I don't need a lot of upside, or I don't need a lot of security. I've got Antonio Gibson. I've got Austin Eckler, and Trey Sermon has a week 6 bye. Blake Martinez. Blake Martinez goes off the board. Jarvis Landry goes off the board. here. It's back to me. And, I filled out all of those players. This is where I can start taking some chances. And I said what I said. I'm looking through at a bunch of these quarterbacks. And where is he? Interesting. Okay. Nope, I'm going to wait on quarterback. That's been my MO. I took Josh Allen the last pick of one of the last rounds. So here in the 10th round of my draft, I'm going to take Ja'Marr Chase. I think it's just too good of a value here. Ja'Marr Chase goes off. I know I talked him down, but he's on my bench, and I think that he has wide receiver. He's transcendent upside. We're talking about an Odell Beckham comp and Player Profiler. If you were to go to playerprofiler.com, okay, and you just type in Ja'Marr Chase, right? You go to Ja'Marr Chase, his comp is Odell Beckham. So I'm very excited about stashing him. He was not a player that I wanted to be considering in the starting lineup at the beginning of the season. So in the 10th round, I think that's the right price. But I did not want to get him earlier. Hey, Brad, should we be coming up on the kicker run? Look, kickers matter. If you get a 0 from your kicker versus a 12 from your kicker, that matters in this type of format where we start one quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a defensive player, a defense, a flex, and a kicker. So 10 spots. And if you get a 0 out of one of those 10 spots, come on. You need 10 to 15 points there for it to be useful enough. So you don't need one of those top kickers, but you also don't want to be risking it for the biscuit on kickers. Oh, well, there we go. Whatever. Okay. I'm not trying to trick anybody, but Harrison Butker goes off in the 10th round. There we go. All right. One kicker off the board. The COVID Masketeers take Harrison Butker. Okay. Yes. Filling out the starting lineup. Classic. Juju. Evan broke spades, I guess. Whatever. Sure. Now everything's out the door. Everything is made up and the points don't matter. That's right. We're playing Whose Line Is It Anyways, actually. There we go. Kicker run, baby. Kicker run. We just saw Butker go off the board in the 10th round. I love to see it. You love to see it. And, we're kind of making fun of the COVID Masketeers here, but real talk, when you're targeting kickers, you want to target offenses that will score points or be in scoring position or will be okay at moving the ball. You don't want bad offenses because as much as you're thinking, bad offenses won't convert touchdowns. Maybe they'll just have to kick field goals. That might be your thought. Bad offenses won't get into scoring position. Bad offenses go 3 and out often and can't get down even into field goal range. So you do want kickers with good offenses, and you hope that they're not as efficient as they were last year. For instance, a kicker that I'm not saying I'm going out and targeting him, but a kicker that would be of interest would be Mason Crosby. And I say that because Aaron Rodgers had one of the best touchdown rates in the NFL last season. And we expect that to regress to the mean. He had a 9% touchdown rate, and we would expect it to go back down to about 6%. Okay. We did not get a kicker run. Instead, we got a kick her run. Antonio Brown off the board with all of his issues is still there. I'm sure that Andrew is kicking himself for waiting to draft Antonio Brown. He should have just filled out the Buccaneers stack. I mean, come on now. Okay. Freaking raw. That's right. Taking Antonio Brown there. TJ Watt off the board. A defensive end linebacker. He led the league in sacks last year for the Steelers, but there are concerns that he might hold out due to contract disputes. So hopefully Stanky Fingers has a contingency plan. He might have to draft another defensive player if he's concerned at all about TJ Watt. Okay. Cool. Whew. Yes, Ryan, putting a kid to bed is always done poorly. I've got 3 of them upstairs. My wife is is holding out here for us. She's the real MVP of tonight's podcast, getting the girls down. So yeah. Okay. The Buccaneers defense is perhaps one of the best defenses in the NFL. Perhaps one of the best defenses in the NFL. But they're going to be in shootouts. So I don't know if drafting the defense at this point is the right spot. We've also seen over the past few years, there has not been a repeat number 1 defense like the last 10 years. In fact, I think the average, if I recall correctly, is like the number 1 defense the following year is like defense 13 or 16 or something like that. Like they're a top half, but meh. All right, Michael is begging and pleading. Let's take a look at Stanky Fingers draft. Okay, let's take a look. Dak Prescott has an injured shoulder. Alvin Kamara doesn't have Drew Brees to check it down to. Saquon Barkley is coming off an ACL tear. Adam Thielen might be the only target in his offense. That's actually pretty solid. Well, he's your wide receiver 1 though. So I don't know if he can repeat. He was wide receiver 8 last year, but with 14 touchdowns, I don't know if that can repeat. Kirk Cousins threw career high 35. I don't know. Kenny Golladay. Yeah, I don't like Kenny Golladay as your wide receiver 2. Kittle. Okay. Kittle, I think, is a really good tight end option. TJ Watt there is really good. Javonte Williams was an excellent pick, and I'm actually kind of ticked off that you took Javonte Williams there. So he might be able to, like, you've got Kamara and Barkley, and you've got Javonte Williams. You just got to hope and pray that those wide receivers do hit, and you pick the right one. I think there, Michael. So you've got the defense to hold you up. But I think that a lot rides, Michael, honestly, on whether your wide receivers can hit. So, yeah, all risk, no reward. Fair enough. Okay, let's see here who went off the board after the Buccaneers. And that's just Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown, as he's missed some preseason, but he's also a player that let me sort by target share. Marquise Brown is my wide receiver 18 in target share. It's just that the pie is so small for Baltimore. I barely have Lamar Jackson. I don't even know if I have 400 pass attempts for Lamar Jackson. So it's just a very small pie, even though I have 23% target share toward Marquise Hollywood Brown. Okay. All risk, no reward. All right. Melvin Gordon goes off for the Ramsey Brigade here. He still has a stranglehold on the running back 1 spot. Javonte Williams has not, anything can happen in the next 24 hours. And it's actually kind of surprising that we're drafting right now, because tomorrow 4 p.m. is when cuts are made. And Melvin Gordon, there's been at least some rumblings that the Denver Broncos might cut Melvin Gordon, although I think those rumblings were kind of snuffed out when Mike Boone suffered a quad injury. He was brought over from Minnesota. So Gordon may very well stay on the team and be more of a thorn in Javonte Williams' side. And I wouldn't be surprised if Javonte Williams is like a round 2 pick for next year. So he very well may be a great keeper. Okay. There, Michael, you may have found a great keeper in Javonte Williams. So keep that in mind throughout the year. You probably don't want to trade Javonte Williams unless you're getting a premium. Okay, let's take a look at some of the other flex players or quarterbacks. So quarterbacks here. Jalen Hurts is still there. Ryan Tannehill is still there. Baker Mayfield is still there. Matthew Stafford is still on the board. And ADP, right? Did I miss Aaron Rodgers? Where did Aaron Rodgers go? Goodness gracious. Yeah. Where did I miss him? Round 8. Wow, I totally missed Aaron Rodgers, my boy. Yeah, he is back with the Packers, but that makes me sad. All the drama that we experienced this offseason just makes me sad. All I can say. Laviska Shenault was a player I hoped would come back to me here, but can't always get what you want. But if you try, sometimes you get what you need. And someone else got Laviska Shenault, so there you go. Leonard Fournette, also Tampa Bay. Look out. Andrew is going to lose week 11 because he has all Buccaneers. But he might win all the other weeks if they all smash. So look out. Yeah, Jake reminds me that he got Rodgers. Yeah, thanks, Jake. Appreciate you for that. Okay. Jamal Adams goes off. He's a sacking safety, and he got the bag recently. So that's a pretty good pickup. Okay. There we go. Technical errors. Okay. Trey Flowers for Algernon, picnic errors specifically. That means nothing to me. I'm not into those different pause. It wouldn't let me click on the player. Okay. Okay. So we're going to hear the draft has been paused by the league manager, and we'll see who, instead of Jamal Adams, gets picked. We'll see who goes here. So let's take a look here at what flex options are still available. And unfortunately, J.K. Dobbins is not going to be a player that is available. He lost his season due to the IR. Okay. And let's see. Yeah, it was very, very sad, honestly. It's very sad because there were a lot of high hopes for J.K. Dobbins. He was going as a running back 2 pretty solidly, not much upside in the pass game due to the Baltimore Ravens offense. They just don't pass the running back, which is why, once again, I'm out on Gus Edwards for being like a PPR upside back. He may get some touchdowns, maybe goal line work, but I think Lamar Jackson gets some more rushing. I think Tyson Williams is the running back that is the running back 2 there. Bobby Wagner goes off for Ramsey's Brigade. Trey Flowers for Algernon goes Trevor Lawrence, the number 1 overall pick in the NFL. Rookie draft this past year. And a generational talent. He's been comped to Andrew Luck. I am worried that Urban Meyer out of Jacksonville is not going to squeeze the most out of Trevor Lawrence. In fact, there were some reports out of Jacksonville camp that Meyer was getting negative reviews on how he was handling the preseason and preseason workouts. And what do you expect? He's been off of coaching for a while. The last he coached was in college, and he left for health reasons. So we'll see. Michael Carter here goes off in the 11th round. I'm up in 4 picks, and let's see here. I've got 3 bench spots left. I've gone wide receiver, running back, wide receiver. Let's see what running backs are out there. I'm looking and I'm seeing some running backs that I might be interested in, but I don't know. Maybe 1 or 2 of them that I might be interested in, but there's also some wide receivers that I'm interested in here. Marcus Callaway has really shown off in the preseason. Sony Michel goes off right there. He was a player that I was interested in possibly here. Okay. All right. This has actually been a pretty smooth draft for the East League. Previous times we were delayed by like a half hour, and we had like a ton of rollbacks and auto picks and different things. So really only 2 misclicks so far has been like a B draft for our league, so not too bad. So teamwork makes the dream work. I'm looking here. as well. I still need a quarterback, and we are into, the 110th picks or so, but there's just so many quarterbacks. I think I'm just going to keep waiting and waiting and waiting on quarterback, unless, maybe I take a shot. Maybe there's a player that I take a shot on there, but AJ Dillon goes off the board. He was a player I was very interested in drafting. Curtis Samuel is going to demand an 18 to 20% target share, and Deebo Samuel goes off. Oh, man. Okay, so I'm going to take a stab. And this is completely unlike Bradley, but I just have a feeling that Trey Lance is going to be one of those players where he may not hit the first couple weeks, so I'll stream quarterback later, but I want top 5, top 3 upside possibility for Trey Lance. I want to make sure I get him at round 11. So maybe it's fool's gold, but I don't think, maybe Justin Fields still has that type of upside, but he's not starting week 1. I know Trey Lance isn't starting week 1, but I want to make sure that I get a player that has that type of upside that's still out there. So James Conner goes off. He was another running back that I was interested in. Yeah, I'm looking here. I'm out on David Johnson, concerned about his role, what his role is going to look like. Jonnu Smith goes off, and I'm here, and I'm going to look at the flex plays. What are some flex plays here that I'm interested in? Yeah, so let me just keep scrolling through and see who is still there that might be of great value in the 12th round. I think there are a lot of players that I am interested in, but not for investing that late. Marvin Jones has an AC joint issue. I'm concerned about that. You know what? I probably do need some running back depth, and I don't want Zach Moss. They're not gonna pass him the ball. If Josh Jacobs gets injured, Kenyon Drake would get a ton of work. So I'm going to go with Kenyon Drake here in the 12th round. Drake is a player that I was out. I missed totally last year on him as well. I was very into Kenyon Drake and CEH, and they just burned me in redraft leagues. So I just couldn't do it. But at the 12th round, I take Kenyon Drake ranking wise over the likes of like Michael Carter. I think he's going right where he's supposed to be, but I also think that there's not a lot of upside for running backs here. So I'm just going to keep waiting. I've got 2 more bench spots, a defensive player, a defense special teams, and a kicker. Okay. Cool beans. All right. So we saw James Conner go off, Jonnu Smith go off. I'm not in on Jonnu Smith either. Like Jonnu Smith, he and Hunter Henry signed in New England, and I have Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry back to back in my PPR rankings at tight end 18 and 17. And about 90 points fewer over the course of the season projected than Mark Andrews, who is my tight end 4. So I think that there's just not enough pie to go around, especially if Jacoby Myers hits, especially if Nelson Aguilar is a thing. They paid Kendrick Bourne money, the New England Patriots did. So I think there's just a lot to go around. And even if Mac Jones is decent, there's still talk about whether or not Mac Jones or Cam Newton are going to be the starters for New England. I don't know. I really am not a huge fan of the New England Patriots. I'm trying to avoid them just given the distribution of targets. think the only player I would be willing to draft was Damian Harris, and I was actually trying to find excuses to not draft him, given how Ramondre Stevenson played and J.J. Taylor played in the preseason. And James White's there too, so it's ugly. Ronald Jones goes off, Tampa Bay running back. He is joined by Leonard Fournette and new addition Giovanni Bernard over from Cincinnati. Jamal Williams, a decent pick. He's been described as the 1A in Detroit's offense. So I think this is a fine pick here. Jamal Williams in the 12th round. Okay. Just a reminder, you can make some comments. Feel free to chime in at any time. If you like how some teams are turning out, fantastic fingers in his starting lineup has Aaron Rodgers, Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, Terry McLaurin, Robert Woods, Jonnu Smith, Kareem Hunt, Blake Martinez. Djibouti Puns, that's me. I have Trey Lance, Antonio Gibson, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb, Mark Andrews, Tyler Lockett. And then Joe Exotic has Kyler Murray, Aaron Jones, Najee Harris, Justin Jefferson, Allen Robinson, TJ Hawkinson, Julio Jones as starters. COVID Musketeers, Lamar Jackson, Joe Mixon, James Robinson, AJ Brown, DJ Moore, AJ and DJ, Travis Kelce and T. Higgins, Devin White, Harrison Butker. Finger licking good, Mahomes and Hill stack, Ezekiel Elliott and DeAndre Swift, Deontay Johnson, Kyle Pitts, Odell Beckham, and the Steelers defense. Okay. Stanky fingers, Dak Prescott, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, Adam Thielen, Kenny Golladay, George Kittle, Cortland Sutton, TJ Watt. Heritage Row Hustlers, Josh Allen, David Montgomery, Myles Gaskin, Devonte Adams, DK Metcalf. I do have to say something here about Myles Gaskin. Myles Gaskin is my projected running back 12. And so for him to be the running back 2, therefore, that could be a really dangerous team here. Myles Gaskin actually is he is my running back 12, even with the update. So that's Heritage Row Hustlers. Looks like he's in a good position with a lot of high upside plays. Trey Flowers for Algernon, Justin Herbert, Derrick Henry, Miles Sanders, Calvin Ridley, Cooper Kupp, Dallas Goedert, Josh Jacobs, Darius Leonard, and then Ramsey Brigade just drafted Marquez Callaway preseason. Am I right or am I right? Russell Wilson, Dalvin Cook, Chris Carson, DeAndre Hopkins, Amari Cooper, Logan Thomas, Gus Edwards, and Bobby Wagner. Okay. And then Lost Cause, Tom Brady, CMC, CEH, Stephon Diggs, Mike Evans, Noah Fant, Chris Godwin. And we just saw over the last few picks, the Steelers defense go off, Jalen Waddle go off, Henry Ruggs, Zach Moss, Marquez Callaway, Matthew Stafford off the board, and then DJ Chark, Alexander Madison off the board. And so I'm up here in 6 picks. And I'm going to start looking, obviously just for kicks, with Justin Tucker still out there as kicker. Ravens defense is out there. The defensive players, Jamal Adams, Joey Bosa, Zach Cunningham, Eric Kendricks, Fred Warner's out there. I have a lot of Fred Warner. Justin Tucker just went off the board. Philip Lindsay went off the board. The Ravens defense went off the board. Okay. So Houston's Zach Cunningham might be a target for me here. Also interested in Fred Warner as possibility. if I'm going defensive player. Washington has a good defense. Okay. And let's take a look at fantasy points. The Rams defense was number 1 last year in this league. The Colts were number 2. Washington was number 3. So Washington might be an edge here. I have a few players left. I've got 2 benches, a defensive player, and defense special teams. So it really just depends on what I want to do here. I've got a few options just looking through. Looks like Andrew Rawl is leaving the draft and then coming back to the draft. I mean, gotta do what you gotta do, I suppose. Okay. And Jamal Adams goes off the board for Rawl. Okay. And then Ryan Tannehill goes off the board for the COVID Musketeers. Okay, let's see what other quarterbacks are available. Jalen Hurts is there. He was the quarterback 3 during the time when he played. I've already taken 1 risk at quarterback. I'm not willing to do that. I think there are plenty of usable quarterbacks still left out there. I'm not going to take a quarterback here. Just looking at fantasy points projected and fantasy points from last season, it seems just very clear that Zach Cunningham is on a defense that's not very good and is going to be out there a while. And just looking at Cunningham's, he had 9, 8, 10, 14, and 13 tackles over the last 5 games. So I'm still pretty, in looking at he led the league in tackles against the run. He's still on the team and they're going to be bad. So I'm going to go with Zach Cunningham here. Michael Pittman just went off. There are 2 picks till my next one. And, let's look at flex plays. And fantasy points in 2020, Stephen Marvin Jones is still there. Cole Beasley is still there. Nyheim Hines is still there. But Checktown Phillip Rivers is not there anymore. Russell Gage might be an interesting pick here. I really don't need, another tight end. I've got Mark Andrews locked up. So we'll see what happens here. I really don't need another tight end, but maybe I pick a tight end. Let me look at some of the tight ends that are here. And honestly, in my projections, I'm taking a look at tight end and my number 7 tight end is still out there in projected points. So I am on the clock. And my number 7 tight end in projected points is not Robert Tonyan, is not Mike Gesicki, it's not Evan Engram, it's Tyler Higbee. And so I'm going to bank on the Rams offense being good. I'm taking a very late play. For many players, Tyler Higbee was a smash start. So I'm very happy getting Tyler Higbee here in the 14th round in a PPR league. As my backup to Mark Andrews. There's not really going to be much controversy, I don't think. But nevertheless, Nelson Aguilar goes off, and now I have to wait a while for my defense and special teams and kicker. And in fact, I have 3 picks left. Defense, special team, kicker, and 1 bench spot. So 3 picks left. We're down to the bitter end, the last 4 rounds or so. I took Tyler Higbee there. He's my projected tight end 7, and he absolutely smashed in 2019. The last 5 weeks, he was the tight end 1, and it wasn't close. And that was all when Gerald Everett was gone. Gerald Everett was out in one game in 2020, and during that game, Tyler Higbee went 5 for 50 on 5 targets and had 3 touchdowns. So the tight end is very much used in Sean McVay's offense, and when Tyler Higbee has that on lockdown, this may be the season where it's very interesting for me to take a flyer on. I mean, a flyer. He's my tight end 7, in projected points. So I'm very excited about that. I got a lot of the players that I'm very pleased with. Robert Tonyan is off the board. Baker Mayfield as my quarterback 12 right now is off the board. I think he's a back-end quarterback 1, a high-end quarterback 2. I was very low on Baker last year. He was like my quarterback 24, 26, something like that. And I think that the Browns established themselves as more pass first near the end of the year. That's when they executed the Kevin Stefanski offense in the way that he's designed. Remember, in the offseason of 2020, there were limited training camps, no preseason games, and they're just trying to figure themselves out here, coming off of a very disappointing season with Freddie Kitchens in 2019. So in 2020. Baker Mayfield was able to step up near the end. He was throwing 40, 50 passes a game, getting 300 something yards. It was very, very good. Okay. So I like him as a pick there. I'm looking at some of the other flex plays that are available here. Jacoby Myers has been showing out during the preseason. Mike Williams has been talked up by Joe Lombardi as playing the X receiver here. But we're seeing, we're near the end of the draft, and some of the players are really, they're taking their defense, their special teams. And so we've seen Washington go off, some kickers. We've seen Brandon McManus go off, Graham Gano go off, Patriots defense, special teams go off, Rams special teams defense. Irv Smith is off the board. Jalen Hurts is off the board. I like Jalen Hurts. That's a really good pick. I think that he's boom bust. I think he's the most boom bust quarterback there is in the NFL, but we saw him boom. It's whether he can hold down the job against Gardner Minshew. We've seen another late round valued pick take over. Gardner was traded for a 6th rounder, and Teddy Bridgewater was traded for a 6th rounder by Denver, or to Denver, by Carolina. So, could it be Minshew mania in Philadelphia? Who knows? But for now, it's Jalen Hurts' job. So I like that pick there. He's got a lot of rushing upside. Okay. And he's the starter for now. So there you go. Cool beans. Marvin Jones, Mike Williams, Devontae Parker is still out there. Hunter Henry just went off the board. Jacoby Myers, Jalen Reagor. Tyrell Williams, the wide receiver 1 on Detroit, is still out there. Paris Campbell is still out there. As I'm looking through, there's some very, very interesting players. Brian Edwards is still out there. Sterling Shepard is still out there. These are all players that, at least I raise my eyebrow to. Zach Ertz is still out there. John Brown is still out there. Christian Kirk is still out there. You have to understand, though, in a 10-team league, you're going to have very large, like the waivers are. There's a good amount of quality talent on the waiver wire. So, this is where I'm not really focusing on, getting running backs at this time, because we kind of know who they are. And if one running back goes down and I don't have the backup, so be it. I have to go to the waiver wire. And this is a league that I've learned over the years. I will have to go to the waiver wire to get running back depth, and it's okay. So let's see. Who else is out there? I'm up in 4 picks, and I'm looking at maybe getting my quarterback here. Okay. In 2020, Kirk Cousins, Ben Roethlisberger, Derek Carr, Matt Ryan all had 30-something touchdowns. Projected passing touchdowns are all there as well. Yeah, so I mean, let me take a look at my projections for quarterback here and who would be of most interest in the 6 point per passing touchdown league. Fred Warner is off the board. Greg Zuerlein, I'm on in 2 picks. Okay. I see 2 players that are of interest to me. And Rawl says he got frozen out. So we'll pause here for station identification. You are on Fantasy Data, Fantasy Football Fanalist podcast. Okay, good. He selected Fred Warner, so that's actually not a mistake. Very good. You can go to fantasydata.com. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. Look us up, Fantasy Data, one word. And you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Fantasy Data, one word, Fantasy Football Fanalists. You can find us everywhere you get your podcasts. If you're interested in getting some more fantasy data, some actual data, you can buy a subscription, and you can go onto the Fantasy Data site and use the code FFF20 for 20% off, in addition to all of the other promos that they have going on right now. So this is an additional 20%. I am on the clock, and I'm looking here, and a couple players stick out to me. One is Matt Ryan. And Matt Ryan, like in a league where it's 300 yards passing or more, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 last year. Okay, so that was 5 is okay. Jameis Winston, I know, can throw for a lot of yards, but he's also turnover possible. So why don't I'll go YOLO with Jameis Winston. He is my quarterback 12 in projected points. We know that that's going to be a valuable position. I can't pick any other players except defense or special teams here. And coming back around, looking at the Bills, like they're a projected high points. I think the Browns play in a tough division. I don't know if I want to necessarily play them. But looking at, like, for instance, the Colts, just to look at like the Colts. They start Seattle, the Rams, Tennessee, Miami. Not necessarily the best. The Dolphins. Start New England, Buffalo, Las Vegas, Indy. I don't know how I feel about that either. Yeah, so maybe I just go look at kickers here. The Rams have a good offense. Miami should be okay. Projected points, Matt Gay is there. Fantasy points, Jason Sanders was there last year. I think Tua takes a step up, so I'm not as bullish on him. But with Jason Sanders showing a ceiling and also being the second out there, I'll just draft Jason Sanders here, and then I'll look at defense, special teams. It'll give me some more time to do some research here on the defense, special teams that are remaining. Okay. Woo, we're getting into the better end here. Let's look at the Denver upcoming, like the first little bit of the schedule. They've got the Giants, Jaguars, Jets, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Vegas, Cleveland, Washington, Dallas, Philly. So that might be a target for me. Throw the Broncos in the queue, maybe. Okay. We'll see if I get sniped. If not, I think there are a couple other defenses that are of interest, but probably not near the bottom of that list. Okay, so it's been 2 hours of this draft. It's been excellent. I want to thank, a lot of people for, going through this draft. We've had anywhere from up to, we've had a lot of viewers. So I'm thankful for all the viewers and those people who have chimed in and jumped on in. I will be sure to do a review here of the teams and maybe give some advice of what some trades or different things that can go down here. And I'll just give some instant reactions. I don't know if I can do like an on the spot ranking, but I can definitely talk about, strengths and weaknesses of each team at the end of this podcast. It's just 10 teams. So we're almost done here. We're in the 16th round. We've got 17 rounds here. And we've seen go off the board since Jason Sanders, Eric Kendricks, Mike Gesicki, Devin Singletary, Joey Bosa, and Tony Pollard. That's actually a pretty good pick here in the 16th round. If Zeke goes down, let's see, Heritage Row Hustlers does not have Zeke, and that may be the right strategy. Hoping that Tony Pollard can hit if Zeke goes down. I mean, if Zeke goes down, I think Tony Pollard is a top 10 running back. We saw the flash of it in the game that Zeke was out last year. He absolutely smashed. So Tony Pollard is a player that has tremendous upside, and in round 16, I think is actually a great pick at this point. Okay. Trey Flowers for Algernon, getting down to the last 10 seconds, and Marvin Jones is selected here. Ramsey Brigade with the 9th pick takes Matt Gay, the kicker out of LA. Okay. Fosade Oluokun of Atlanta is taken at the turn. And to kick off the first pick of the last round, Andrew selects. He's going to leave me hanging for about 70 seconds. It's fine. Well, let's see. He's got to take a kicker here. So he's probably figuring out who the kickers are. Younghoe Koo goes for Andrew there. Ramsey Brigade needs someone on his bench, so we'll see who who Ryan takes at the end of this in the last round. Andrew Rawl is just struggling to stay with it. It's okay. Wondering what kind of maybe running back flyer or maybe a player that you could take. David Johnson. I'm not high on David Johnson, though. He was actually quoted 2 weeks ago saying that he's accepting his reduced role in the Texans offense, which is not what I wanted to hear. I have a lot of like best ball leagues with David Johnson in like the 11th round or 12th round of a 12-team league. And that still doesn't make me feel good. That he's got pass catching capability, and he had one of his best rushing seasons last year. But the fact that Philip Lindsay got taken so much further ahead of David Johnson in this league, I think speaks volumes to how much of a bungled organization the Houston Texans are at this point. Okay, Trey Flowers for Algernon took their defense to round out their team. Heritage Row Hustlers still needs a bench play. And Heritage Row Hustlers takes Buda Baker, the safety out of Arizona. Stanky Fingers takes Jacoby Myers, wide receiver for the New England Patriots here in the last round. And Jacoby Myers had like a 24% target share last year. Yeah, the pie wasn't very big, but if it's Mac Jones throwing the ball, Jacoby Myers might be very interesting here in the 17th round. I don't know if he'll be like keeper worthy, but he very well could be a value here in the 17th round. I mean, any player has a chance of being a value, but I really like Jacoby Myers pick here in the 17th round. Okay. Finger licking good. Andrew needs a bench player. Okay, and for my league mates, you can stick around for this on the stream to let me do a team review just really quickly on each of them. Okay, so we saw Austin Hooper, Mecole Hardman, Ryan Suckup go off, and we're gonna go with the Broncos here, and that ends me. We've got one last pick. Jake, bring us home, and there we go. There are my players. Okay, very good. I've got Antonio Gibson, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen. Okay, Ayuk, Sermon, Andrews, CeeDee Lamb, Lockett, Judy, Trace, Lance, Drake. Okay, Cunningham, Winston, Higbee, Sanders, Broncos D. So let's go to my team. Okay. And right now, I'm going to move down to here with Jameis Winston. Okay. Move saved. And there we go. So I have in my starting lineup, Jameis Winston, Antonio Gibson, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb, who is out right now. I'll actually be able to move CeeDee Lamb not into the IR spot. Hey, Ryan, we got to change that. Okay. And then Mark Andrews, Tyler Lockett, Zach Cunningham, Broncos D, and Jason Sanders with Judy, Ayuk, Sermon, Chase, Drake, Higbee on the bench. Let's look at the rest of the league. Let's look around the league and let's look at rosters. All right, so Ramsey Brigade, Russell Wilson, Dalvin Cook, Chris Carson, DeAndre Hopkins, Amari Cooper, Logan Thomas, Gus Edwards. Okay, I think that moving Tyler Boyd into the flex is going to be the move here. I think there's enough wide receiver and running back depth that should be able to sustain even an injury. Russell Wilson and Bobby Wagner, I think, are working in tandem there. That's going to be really nice. Amari Cooper and DeAndre Hopkins both have top 10 upside. DeAndre top 5. Obviously, Dalvin Cook top 2 upside. I think there's just a lot of meh on the bench with the Jalen Hurts, which could explode into that quarterback, especially if Russ doesn't cook. Like, we hope that he does, and we hope that Shane Waldron hope that Shane Waldron is doing it, but there we go. Okay. I've already talked about my team. Lost cause: Tom Brady, Christian McCaffrey, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Stephon Diggs, Mike Evans, Noah Fant, Chris Godwin, and then a respectable bench as well. So really top heavy with Diggs, CEH, Christian McCaffrey, and then the stack of Brady, Evans, and Godwin. Okay. Josh Allen for Heritage Row Hustlers is a great start. He went not 0 RB, but later RB. Devonte Adams, DK Metcalf, Darren Waller really hold up in the PPR league type of setting. And Myles Gaskin is going to be exceptional. David Montgomery is going to be very much used as well. Roquan Smith, Bucks D, and Justin Tucker are very good. Lamar Jackson, Joe Mixon, James Robinson. A lot of rushing opportunities there as of late. AJ and DJ are very good. This is a team, the COVID Masketeers, I really like as well. Reached on Harrison Butker there to fill the lineup. But there's some Williams on the bench that might be of interest as well. Fantastic fingers. Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, I think both are, high-end running back 2s, maybe back-end running back 1s. Terry McLaurin, same thing with Robert Woods and Terry McLaurin. The back end wide receiver ones, high end wide receiver twos. You're just hoping that one has like an explosive year. You hope that something goes right here. I'm really not a fan of Jake's draft, to be honest. Chase Claypool needs to explode and move into like that flex play to be a little more dangerous. Okay. So there's Kyler, Aaron Jones, Najee, Justin Jefferson, Allen Robinson, TJ Hawkinson for Joe Exotic. There's going to be a lot of rushing once again with the rushing quarterback. Kyler Murray is really good. I am concerned about the flex play. Like, it's very possible that Raheem Mostert, Daryl Henderson, TJ Hawkinson just no. Okay. All right, Julio Jones. No, that could be a problem. But taking Corey Davis and Deebo Samuel late, I think, might be able to suffice, like that Julio Jones question mark there if he falls off on the age model. Okay, Justin Herbert, Derrick Henry, Miles Sanders, Calvin Ridley, Cooper Kupp, Dallas Goedert, Josh Jacobs. I think that this team is really based on Henry and Jacobs. They need to be in more games than what we're projecting. So Tennessee may be very good, but if Henry gets hurt, Trey Flowers for Algernon could be one of the worst teams in this league. So, I really like Herbert and I love Calvin Ridley. Those are my top players at each of those positions, but I'm not interested in, having Josh Jacobs in the flex. He may have to move Robbie Anderson, for instance, into the flex. And even then, I'm not excited about some of the flex players. So this is a team I'm not super high on. Finger looking good. I love the Mahomes Hill stack. That was pretty sharp, even though, Mahomes may have been relative reach. Zeke Elliott and Deandre Swift. I think Swift is a perfect running back 2 here. Deontay Johnson is going to get his. I think this is a pretty solid draft. He can stash Michael Thomas on the bench or on the IR spot. And Antonio Brown, AJ Dillon. I think those are, you've got a lot of decent bench plays here. And then the last team we'll look at, Stanky Fingers, Dak Prescott, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, Adam Thielen, Kenny Golladay, George Kittle. I think the best player value-wise here is Javonte Williams, actually. I think that this is Javonte Williams could be, yes, Alvin Kamara went in the first round, but Javonte Williams very well may be cracking the starting lineup for this team by mid-season. I'm worried about the wide receiver core here. There's a lot of Qs next to the starters, and Cortland Sutton's coming off the ACL. Gabriel Davis was, I think, the biggest reach in the draft of all of the drafters. I like Jalen Waddle if he can explode. Jacoby Myers was a smart pick in the last round. Okay, so that concludes the East League. Appreciate y'all sticking with me for this 2 hours and 17 minutes. Have a great rest of your night. Good luck with the rest of your drafts, and wish me some luck in this East League. Have a great one, everyone.